The New Dental Deal, conceived and produced by William D. Nordquist, Doctor of Dental Medicine and Master of Oral Biology. Dentistry has drastically changed over the years for the betterment of patients who took advantage of the new findings in fluoride and gum disease dental research that took place in the 60s and 70s. However, it took subsequent decades for dentists to diminish the damages to those patients who had already suffered resulting from gross decay and subsequent massive tooth loss. So, dentists who started their dental practices in the 60s and 70s had more dentistry to complete than they would be able to perform. These dentists would never see the day when this massive amount of dentistry would eventually dwindle and for the most part, end. These patients who benefited from fewer to no cavities and/or a gum disease would not provide the same lucrative income that older dental counterparts enjoyed. Thus, dentists who graduated in the 90s and until today would gradually and necessarily have to change their modus operandi to make up for the ever-decreasing income loss from decreasing demand for dentistry. Today, patients in the age group of 55 to 65 and younger have much less, if not, no tooth loss at all, than their fathers and grandparents. Good for patients, but not for dentistry.
Dr. William Nordquist was born on April 9, 1944, in Montour Falls, New York. Early in his life, he showed a precocious interest in natural health and probiotics. Today, is an internationally recognized leader in the science of what is called oral systemic health. Oral systemic health is the study of the relationship between the health of the mouth and how it relates to the other parts of the body as a whole. The truth concerning health has been extremely controversial, however, despite years of resistance by his peer, he stuck to telling his patients the inconvenient truth concerning health. Namely, the ill health of the mouth is the first sign of trouble elsewhere in the body. Dr. Nordquist has had diverse experience in his education. He started out as a music major at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. He then received a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry at the Rochester Institute of Technology and worked as an organic chemist for Eastman Kodak Company, both also in Rochester. While planning his future for a PhD in chemistry, his military draft status changed to 1A, and to avoid interrupting his educational path, he pivoted in his career to pursuing dentistry and dental research. He earned a doctorate of dentistry and a combined postdoctorate DMS degree in oral biology with a major in oral and general pathology from the University of Louisville. He pioneered this combined degree program, was awarded a full scholarship, and was the first to graduate in the program. The research completed was extremely productive and produced 4 major publications which were distributed in all 4 dental research journals at the time. Subsequently, Dr. Nordquist joined the United States Navy as a dental officer and completed a hospital residency at the Naval Regional Medical Center in San Diego, California, that included training in the various specialties of dentistry. He then served on a submarine tender as a dental officer and there achieved the rank of lieutenant commander before leaving the U.S. Navy for private practice in San Diego, California. Dr. Nordquist is a diplomate in the American Board of Oral Implantology and has numerous professional fellowships and diplomates in several implant dentistry organizations, and his career has continued over 50 years. He has lectured internationally for years, published numerous books and professional papers concerning oral health and implant dentistry, and practiced implant dentistry in San Diego, California since 1976. His most recent book, published in March of 2020, Killer Viruses, Rising from the Flames of COVID-19, Lyme Disease and Other Chronic Diseases, could be the first book published concerning the COVID-19 virus and the God virus, which you will quickly find out that it is more commonly referred to as the SYPINX Sphinx virus. Health has been elusive for decades and chronic disease has devastated our health, causing hundreds of millions of deaths during this time period. The truth is now revealed, and optimum health can be achieved, now that the mechanism behind this stealth killer has been unraveled. Now let's delve into the subject of ultimate health and longevity.
Dr. Nordquist's success in fluoride research is evidenced by several publications and a research thesis concerning the chemistry of fluoride completed during his Master of Science program in oral biology. Dr. Nordquist began preventing most cavities and gum disease by the late 1980s. He learned from a highly respected implant dentistry colleague, Dr. Louis Naaman, from Mobile, Alabama, how to prevent implant failure by using dental irrigators, also known as a water pick. It worked so well in preventing dental implant failure that Dr. Nordquist began using it on his general dentistry patients. As a result, by 1992, Dr. Nordquist could practice implant dentistry full-time and take care of his general dentistry patients concurrently. With prevention measures thoroughly explained to his patients, along with the use of oral irrigators, his general dentistry patients no longer had cavities or gum disease. Cleaning teeth for these patients took minutes since they all had such excellent oral hygiene, there was little to clean. This was a great lesson for Dr. Nordquist to learn early in his career. At the same time Dr. Nordquist found out about prevention of implant failure, it seemed that the more missing teeth patients had, the more problems dentists had with these patients. Missing teeth is a proxy for more severe gum disease. Ironically, it wasn't dental implant failure because few failed. The problem was the patient's perception of a problem. This was frustratingly apparent for the dentists that they were unable to provide the patient with their expected original lost natural teeth, those teeth God gave them in the first place. The problem soon became evident that it was a processing problem experienced by the patient. They cannot process or understand that it is impossible to give them back their natural teeth, no matter how much money they paid the dentist. As a result, there were floods of lawsuits filed by patients, and attorneys and experts flourished during these years, but flailed around trying to explain the elusive problems, but all the time being ignorant of the underlying causes. Dr. Nordquist served as an expert for several attorneys during that time and also suffered from being sued himself. This floundering ended about 2008, at about the same time when our country went into a deep recession. Implant dentistry has not been the same since that time. My book Legalized Crime, Implant Dentistry Turf Wars, and Chronic Disease memorializes these years. The serendipity thing about it all is that it spurred Dr. Nordquist to a quest to investigate why these patients were so screwed up. Dr. Nordquist took 20 years of his life to solve these problems and published 8 books detailing what causes chronic disease and how to prevent them. The bottom line is that chronic disease produces immune suppression and cognitive decline in patients. Not good for complicated implant dentistry patients or dentists who treat them. These discoveries made it possible for the new dental deal to be conceived and implemented today. To summarize dentistry's success in eliminating disease, fluoride application, of course, played a huge role. Plus, better oral hygiene with a variety of tools, such as better toothbrushes, electronic toothbrushes that are faster and more efficient, water irrigators, some of which are incorporated in the toothbrush itself, and probably most of all, and not talked about much, is the availability of fruits and vegetables year-round. Unfortunately, due to the social-economic status that patients find themselves, the statistics favor middle-income patients and above. Patients in the lower tiers of our society lack the necessary education and resources to avoid sickness due to poor hygiene, poorer diets, and availability to affordable quality dentistry. More on this pivotal Achilles heel problem for dentistry later. In Dr. Nordquist's booklet published in January of 2015, Stop Painful Abscess Teeth and Gum Disease That Leads to Alzheimer's Disease, now, he describes methods to stop oral disease. Thus the serendipitous result would also be eliminating chronic diseases, such as Alzheimer's disease. Good news for patients, but is this good news for dentistry? Or not? What's the problem? California's problems in dentistry include 1. Declining decay and periodontal disease rates among patients who can afford dentistry. 2. A great increase in dental disease among immigrants who enter society at the lower rungs. And 3. Most of all, California's solutions by their agencies to solve the problem made it catastrophically worse. California's problem with immigration is a dramatic increase in immigration from the southern border. The poor dental health among these immigrants. Also, poor nutrition among new arrivals. This overwhelmed the existing dental care facilities. California's strategies for vast immigration problems were 1. Expansion of dental school enrollment. 2. Recruit and sponsor dentists to migrate to California from around the world. 3. Facilitate schools, both in the United States and Mexico, to teach foreign dentists how to pass the dental board examination. And 4. Reduced requirement to pass dental board examination. What was the intended result? A dramatic increase in immigrant dentists willing to treat the immigrant population. So, what's wrong with that scenario? More happy dentists that can earn a great income. Easy to pay back the minimal cost per immigrant dentist coming into the United States with education received abroad. More dentists can open their own practice and live happily ever after. Parents are so proud of their successful dentist. So, what's the problem? More dentists will solve the immigration problem, right? Not so fast. It backfired. The problem for these new dentists in California. When dentists signed up for welfare programs to help the immigrants, they were then buried in red tape. Every procedure had to be pre-authorized before they could treat the patient, which takes expensive staff to create the paperwork trail. Remember, before diagnosis can be completed, X-rays and physical examinations must be completed at the dentist's expense. Once the paperwork is submitted, then it took time to receive an answer. Once pre-authorization was approved by bureaucratic dentists, then the procedure could be completed by the participating dentist. Another unexpected problem arose during this important step in the artificially prolonged bureaucratic process. Once the procedure was approved, the patient had to be contacted and appointed for the procedure. Finding the transient welfare patients became the problem, and after all the hard work the dentist performed to get the procedures approved, there were all too many patients who would not show up for the dental procedure itself. When patients did show up and the procedures were completed, now the problem was getting the payment from the DentiCal program. New paperwork had to be generated to collect the fees for the procedures, and this could take another several weeks or sometimes months. All these problems with DentiCal discouraged dentists from continuing with the program, and the immigrant dentists had to withdraw and seek employment treating non-welfare patients who we have described earlier as needing very little dentistry. Why is there so much red tape? It's simple. 1. There is an overwhelming amount of dental disease among the immigrant population. 2. California simply cannot afford to pay for it all. 3. DentiCal must spread the treatment out over as much time as possible. In other words, the California government, namely, California taxpayers, can't afford to pay for all these new dentists to do the job treating immigrants. Therefore, they must slow down the treatment and consequential fee payment process. It's a catch-22 problem. Dentists are in a real pickle situation. What now for these dentists? Dentists treating DentiCal patients throw up their hands in desperation. These dentists then abandon the immigrant population problem and refocuses their dental practice on the existing California population. As we have said many times, this population needs less and less dentistry. There is another problem. For dentists, people who can afford dentistry are leaving California. Between 2007 and 2016, California lost 1 million residents to domestic migration. about 2.5% of its total population. More recently, in 2020, 249,239 people left California. Overpopulation of dentists competing for non-immigrant population results in 1. Increased competition for new patients. 2. Dramatic decrease in dental fees. 3. Birth of dental service organization who co-own dental practices with the dentist, and 3. Increase in preferred dental provider and health maintenance organizations. The bottom line is there is not enough paying patients to go around. Don't forget, these patients have a decreased need for dentistry in the first place. A problem exists resulting from differing standards of care practiced by some foreign-trained dentists, compared to existing California dentists. Because of this question, immigrant dentists face the predicament of competing with these existing dentists who, in many cases, had a much different standard of care. As a result, many immigrant dentists with little experience in the dog-eat-dog world of California dentistry must face peer reviews resulting from arguments concerning treatment they completed. They then unfortunately face the possibility of losing their dental licenses. Dr. Nordquist defended immigrant dentists in California Dental Board investigations. Nordquist was able to save immigrants' licenses by turning the problem back on the Dental Board's policy itself. The California Dental Board, in concert with other agencies, sponsored foreign dentists, without adequately training them to compete with local dentists with differing standards of care. To mitigate the problem, the California Dental Board assigned these foreign dentists to local dentists to help train them in the standard of care practiced within California. Changes in methods of selecting dentists for admission to dental school nationally has become a problem. The dental boards in the United States discontinued skill testing for hand-eye coordination and dexterity tests, i.e., the ability to carve chalk, and testing for a candidate's ability to perceive and analyze spatial relations between objects. Alternatively, standard multiple-choice examinations were relied upon to select new dentist candidates. As an observer for the last 10 years, in Dr. Nordquist's opinion, the dexterity, hand-eye coordination, and ability for new dentists to perform skilled artistry in dentistry today has declined. The training of general dentists in dental schools today has also become a problem. The mere lack of patients who seek and can also afford the cheaper fees of dentistry in the dental school has been dwindling for years. Finding qualified patients has always been a problem for dental students, however, today it is almost impossible. As a result, the harder cases and specialized orthodontic, surgical procedures and dentures go to the specialty training programs, such as training orthodontists, oral surgeons, prosthodontists, periodontists, etc. So, dentists may have little to no training in these specialty areas when they graduate. The problem with this scenario for general dentistry is, because of their lack of training in dental school, these dentists are obligated to refer these patients to specialists where they pay dramatically higher fees. Years ago, when Dr. Nordquist was trained, general dentists were trained to perform all these specialty procedures. Today's lack of training is not good for patients. Not good for general dentists either, because they do not have enough variety of procedures to perform without overdiagnosing unnecessary procedures. Disparities in earnings between white and minoritized dentists nationally. Between 2001 and 2018, hourly net income was about 22% lower for minoritized dentists compared to white dentists. Compared to white dentists, the unadjusted gap in hourly net income is 21% lower for Asian dentists, 32% lower for Black dentists, and 24% lower for Hispanic dentists. There is a problem with the increase in number of dentists trained in California dental schools at the cost of $500K per student. It's a huge problem for dentists to pay off these student loans. plus the cost of starting or buying a dental practice, another $500K, plus the cost of buying a home, another $700K or more, adding up to over $1,700,000. See the conflict of interest? Everything is ass backward. Dentist's piecework procedure production model is like bailing out the boat without fixing the leak, at best, or at worst, fixing leaks that don't even exist. A prime example of fixing leaks that do not exist is the use of lasers in the mouth to kill all the microbes around the teeth every time a patient gets their teeth cleaned. It is nuts. Lasers are only used to hit a reset button and a one-time treatment for patients with severe periodontal disease. A microscope is used to diagnose a gross imbalance of bacteria, especially dominated by oral spirochetes. After the reset, the goal is to rebalance the oral bacteria population using the microscope to monitor the progress. So, what is the answer to this dilemma? Eureka! We need a new dental deal. Dentistry now knows why patients need dentistry. Why can't they get paid for preventing dentistry in the first place? Decades of research has revealed exactly what causes chronic disease, including dental disease. We know how to prevent chronic disease. We know how to reverse it. Tell the truth about the relationship between dentistry, chronic disease, COVID-19, plus other viruses. Whether we like it or not, production-based dentistry will drastically decline in coming years. The new dental deal brings the benefit of new research to patients. It takes advantage of dentists' medical training and expands it. Body and oral wellness can be monetized through preventive dentistry and medicine. Throw out the old and bring on the new. Old production-based dentistry must stop. New wellness-based dental medicine must begin. The history of oral medicine started in the 70s. Dr. Nordquist graduated from the University of Louisville in 1973. In 1970, the School of Dentistry moved into a brand new modern facility like today's dental schools. It was the start of dental medicine, as far as the curriculum was concerned. In 1939, the new concept of oral medicine was conceived, and the University of Louisville changed the dental degree from DDS to DDM.D. At the time, it was believed that this designation more accurately described the modern practice of dentistry. When Dr. Nordquist was a student there, he was told that the DMD degree included more medical courses than the DDS programs. During the first 2 years, dentists and doctors were taught the same medical courses, taught by the same medical school professors. The intent back then, dentists would be trained more like physicians. So, it has taken over 50 years to realize this early innovation started so many years ago. Dental and medical medicine are the same and must be taught to patients as the same. So, what happened to this concept over the years? Based on Dr. Nordquist's experience over the last 50 years of practicing, writing and lecturing to dentists about chronic disease, the DMD medicine intent by professors changed to production-based mechanical dentistry. Dentistry needs to resurrect the medical intention of dentistry started so many years ago. Reasons why. Every nutrient that enters the body gains entrance through the mouth. The tissues of the mouth display the first signs of chronic disease. Treating dental disease requires the same medicine that keeps the entire body healthy. The best medicine for the body is a healthy diet. Science has shown that specific nutrients in the diet, when missing, cause chronic disease, or when added back into the diet, can reverse chronic disease. The dentist's regular recall programs are the perfect venue to teach patients the proper diet to reverse chronic disease. Dentists are best positioned to follow up on optimal health program because many patients are locked into regular recall programs. So, why not? California has the biggest problem. So, let the movement begin in California. How to do it? It's a 4-step strategy. Step number 1, diagnosis. Use the patient's health history to determine if the patient has any of the chronic diseases. Perform an oral examination to determine if patient has any form of periodontal disease. Then, using a high-powered microscope to find evidence of spirochetes in the dental pockets between the teeth and gums. Then use a cone beam CAT scan to find any residual infection in the bone or around the teeth. Step number 2, from the complete battery of tests the dentist can place the patient on a chronic disease continuum. This chart then determines the course of treatment for the patient. Step number 3, treatment. Periodontal treatment, as necessary. Laser treatment, if needed, when a gross imbalance in oral bacteria is observed from the microscope examination. Surgery is completed to eliminate any bone infections in the jaw that are noted from the cone beam CAT scan. Step number 4, patient education, the medical part of the solution. Patients are instructed on how to prevent chronic diseases. If a patient already has one or many of these diseases, they are instructed on how to reverse them. It's a long process because most of these diseases took years before the symptoms appeared and reversing them can take time. The dental part of the solution is training our patients on how to balance the bacteria and other microbes in their mouths. This is necessary to optimize the stability of all the microbes throughout the digestive system from the mouth to the butt. This concept is completely different than is being taught by dentists today. Dr. Nordquist's goal is to balance microbes in the mouth, not kill them. Since this education is being developed every day, we sometimes change the details taking into consideration any new innovations in research. Therefore, a membership in our program is necessary for long-term success. Who qualifies for Dr. Nordquist's new dental deal program? Since Dr. Nordquist practices in San Diego, California, the most convenient treatment is for patients to visit his office. However, over many years, because of all the time Dr. Nordquist has spent writing books, lecturing, and producing health videos, patients travel to San Diego for treatment from everywhere. Most importantly, the initial treatment is completed at the first visit. From then on, follow-up on treatment can be completed using either personal phone calls and/or live Zoom conferences. When patients realize they are saving, in most cases, thousands of dollars worth of unnecessary treatment in their local dentist's office, plus reduced cost for medical treatment and the inconvenience of being sick, a flight to San Diego is cheap compared to the alternatives. Concluding remarks. You learned from this video the problems dentistry is having today. However, the goal set forth in medical dentistry for almost a century ago is now within our reach. Dr. Nordquist has spent his entire career working toward these goals. Now it is ready to launch. Dr. Nordquist is excited to offer this new dental deal to his patients. You are only a phone call away from taking advantage of decades of hard work and diligent research in achieving optimal health. Thank you for your attention.